No.
I don't. Yeah, now. Yay!
Okay.
I made it.
Yeah.
Oh, thank God. Okay, so
Mm.
let's start. It's about 20-minute interview, 23
Okay.
minutes. Okay.
Hmm.
So since we're going to talk about the project, could you start telling us a little bit about your story?
Sure.
Yes.
So my story is about my healing journey with systemic Candida yeast overgrowth that I discovered when I was in my early 20s, and I was going to the doctor every month for a bacteria vaginosis infection, and they were treating it with antibiotics. And then I would get a yeast infection, and then they would treat that with diflucan, and it was just this vicious cycle. And after 2 years, I finally just broke down in tears, and I said, "What is causing this?" And the doctor just said, "Some women are just susceptible, and you'll just need to be on medication for the rest of your life." And I was like, "That is insane." And then I did my own research, and I discovered a book called The Yeast Connection, and I read that it was caused by antibiotics, which I was taking all through my childhood, and just a long-term imbalance of my bacteria that was getting fed by my lifestyle, which consisted a lot of, at that time, beer and bread and things like that. So I eliminated all beer, bread products, and my symptoms improved so much that I thought it went away after being on that diet for a month. And I didn't get that same symptom again. So even the doctor said, "Oh wow, I haven't seen you in a year," when I went back for my pap smear. And I said, "Yes, because I changed my diet. You should tell other patients as well." Uh, but I wasn't ready to fully heal then. I overlooked that I was still taking the birth control pill, and I continued to drink alcohol. And I just was living a very imbalanced, stressful, and emotionally repressed life then. I was in corporate sales. I was not really aligned with my calling or my passions, and I was still numbing with a lot of alcohol and things like that. So my journey, my true healing journey began when I ended up leaving my life in the US. I sold everything that I owned to follow my heart to Thailand. I had already left my corporate job to live more fully from my heart and my passions, which was always in health and healing. And I became a journaling facilitator and a certified holistic health counselor to help other people heal themselves and listen to themselves and really empower their life decisions so that they are listening to what they need, because I wasn't. I was in abusive relationships, and I ended up really discovering why I was choosing those relationships. And through all of that transformational work, that's what helped me become more aligned with my my purpose. And that led me to Thailand. And when I was in Thailand, I didn't know why I was going, but I had this calling to go to Thailand. And when I landed, I was really led to this island that was full of detox retreats, and I was passionate about cleansing my body, and I was doing a ton of cleanses for like 10 years. I was doing juice fast and master cleanse, and when I would go away to an Ayurvedic center and do panchakarma, and I just kept on cleansing, and I discovered that I was still treating my symptoms by doing these physical cleanses because I really didn't know what was causing them. So when I was on the island, I started creating businesses because there was 14 detox retreats and like 30 healers, and I was like, wow, this is exactly like all of my passions on one island, and it's like paradise for me. So I was actually like researching the difference between the detox retreats, and I was experiencing different healers and practitioners. And one in practitioner was a iridologist who looked into my eyes, and so they could read the health of your body by looking into your eyes. And she said, "You know, you have systemic candida, right?" And I said, "Yes." I had been dealing with it for 10 years and I was treating it with all of these cleanses. And even I would take candida detox in a box, cleanses. And she said, "You know what? Just eliminate, dried fruit." I was already eating like a raw food diet then. And she's like, "Just eliminate dried fruit and coffee and make sure you don't drink any alcohol." And I said, "What about fruit?" Because I was living on a tropical island. And she said, "Oh, yeah." She's like, "I was able to do, eat fruit, so it's fine." So I still continue to eat lots of sweet fruit and things like that. And after a month, I didn't feel any different. And I had one glass of wine and I broke out with a yeast infection and the flu. And I said, okay, something else is going on. And I was also hired to create my own detox and wellness program at a resort. And I was writing a guidebook for the island and I couldn't think clearly. And my brain fog had progressed so much that I just couldn't focus or finish any projects that I was working on. So I just at that moment said, I will do anything to think clearly again and really address this. And the next day, someone handed me the Body Ecology Diet book. And that book gave me all of the answers that I needed to really approach it in the right way because it explained what causes it, and the healing journey is different for every person and the length of the journey is different. And she also, Donna Gates wrote the book, explained in the book that I do need to give up alcohol for a long period of time until I'm fully healed. Or she even says maybe not, you have to eat that way for the rest of your life. And a lot of people have that belief that once you have a really systemic yeast overgrowth, that you have to avoid sugar and alcohol for the rest of your life. Through my journey, I discovered the root cause of my condition. I specialized in healing Candida right away because I had been researching it for so long. And then I started on the diet, and then I was discovering all the things and I was learning all the things that I needed to stay away from. And other causes of it would come to me in terms of the stress and patterns of like mental patterns. When I would go into survival or not really believing myself, I would take a job out of survival, let's say, and I wouldn't be supported. And I was just doing it because I thought I needed that because I couldn't do it on my own, and my symptoms would get worse. So I started to notice some of the emotional patterns while I was in Thailand. I did the diet for a year and a half. I did a ton of physical cleansing, lots of supplements, and I felt healed from it. And I was starting to incorporate some fruit again and all of that. I left Thailand and I went back to San Francisco, and I ended up living there, and I experienced even more healers, spiritual healers. I was triggered with a lot of old patterns from the US and my family. And then I ended up going down to Costa Rica to experience a 30-day water fast. I wasn't addressing my candida because I really thought I was healed, but I just was still on this like journey of researching and experimenting with different healing modalities. A client brought me back to Atlanta, where I live now, exactly 3 years after I left. And I ended up getting into a relationship with a man, and I stopped believing myself, and I gave him my power. And I became a victim in that relationship in terms of not listening to myself and not believing that I could do it, and really thinking that he needed to do it for me because he knew better than I did in terms of my business, and my money stopped. And then he wasn't meeting all of my emotional needs. And it was actually the opposite. He was not there emotionally at all for me. And all of a sudden, not all of them, but my bloating and yeast infections started coming on. And I wasn't eating anything that would, be contributing to Candida, no sugar or alcohol. And I said, okay, this is an emotional condition. And at that point, I ended up contacting another healer a friend of mine, Janet Raftis, who
Mm-hmm.
actually has a story in the book, and she confirmed it. She did an energy healing on me, and she said my little girl was sitting Indian style, my inner child,
Mm-hmm.
and she was like knocking to come out because there was all these still repressed emotions and anger and sadness, and then she said there was also repressed joy, and she said so once you really let her out, you're going to become more playful and joyful, and it was true. So I did all of the inner child work. I had been trained in that as well. So I knew what I needed to do. And I did a lot of journaling and emotional releasing. And I also broke it off with that guy to take care of my own emotional needs. So from that point on, all of my symptoms went away. And I could eat whatever I wanted. And I've never, so that's been 3 or 4 years now, and I haven't had any reactions. I can drink wine and coffee and
Mm-hmm.
sugar and chocolate. I eat chocolate every day. And so there is freedom in fully healing, and it is possible to completely heal. And so I have discovered all aspects of healing from Candida, and what it takes in terms of like the commitment to the diet, and growing your willpower is key to healing. So like I mentioned before, there's some sort of victim connection with Candida. And so I think it's a manifestation
Mm-hmm.
of victim mentality, and being kind of in a stuck in victimhood, of hopeless and helpless, and kind of like that poor me. Nothing is working out for me. And even having Candida, a lot of people can go into victim of I can't eat sugar again, and complaining about just the diet alone,
Mm-hmm.
and I can't commit to it, and or I can't give it up, like I have to eat sugar. And so the diet, I think, helps people not only grow their willpower and take care of their own needs finally, like to believe in themselves and to heal themselves and to stay committed, but it also helps them feel. And so the healing of Candida is a journey to feel all of the repressed emotions and everything that is not allowed on the Candida diet actually numbs and comforts emotions. So
Mm-hmm.
you're forced to be with everything. So you're more sensitive to feeling how things are affecting you. When people, interactions with people, and maybe it helps you to see, like, okay, this doesn't feel good. So maybe I shouldn't do that anymore. Or I need to set a boundary with someone. This person's triggering something in me, and I need to go back to that place that's unresolved, in my childhood. And so I help my clients. I work with people all around the world
Mm-hmm.
via Skype, and I have group calls to really help them finally take care of their emotional needs. And I think that's the gift from Candida, is to help us see when we're not taking care of our emotional needs.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a journey of empowerment. So to really stay in our power with our thoughts and our actions and our beliefs. And so it's interesting because I work with people, and now it's all on that emotional level. The diet's like the beginning, but it's really about them seeing when they're going into that victim place. Like I have a client who um, is in that poor me. She just wants a relationship. I have a couple clients like that right now who are just like, when is it going to happen? My time's running out, and,
Mm-hmm.
I just want someone. And then they will do something to like just be in that needy place and be with someone who's really not good for them, kind of like I experienced. And then their symptoms come back to show them that they're not taking care of their emotional needs. And so I help them not only, stay empowered with like trusting in the timing of their life, and to not try to control their life, like to release control and to trust in that everything is perfect and that they are responsible for creating their life, and that they need to stay focused on, what they really want, and then the trust that it's going to show up at the right time for them. There's other aspects to it of like being aligned with your soul, like your purpose. And so I actually have like a Candida e-course. It's a home study that I did for 8 weeks. So there's 8 different lessons, and it starts with like taking responsibility and acceptance, seeing what's still contributing to their Candida, if seeing if they can believe, if they actually believe they can heal themselves, looking at the physical cleansing and the emotional healing, and then self-awareness, and like being the observer of thoughts and when things are triggering them, or seeing other people as a reflection, into forgiveness and self-love and living more in gratitude. And then the gift of it all is a heightened sense of intuition. So yeah. So, and then it's listening to your body, and into, so most people I work with are very intuitive and empathic and sensitive, and I think those are the ones who are more prone to getting Candida because of the emotions that we're taking on from other people. And it's and it's a gift of that sensitivity. Like once we clear other people's emotions and our repressed emotions, we're so sensitive that we can feel what we need, and we're more in tune with our needs and our desires, and our power to manifest through our feelings and our desires. And so the empowerment also is about listening to ourselves and not other people. So I do notice that the Candida industry, there's a ton of Candida products and programs that are one size fits all. And I believe those are feeding the Candida condition, because people are looking for the cure outside of themselves. And they're like, okay, I just need someone to fix me and to tell me what to do. And actually, the healing of Candida is for them to listen to what they need and to choose the foods that their body wants, not what they're reading that other people are telling them to eat, but really to tune into their own body's response to what food they're eating, and what healing modalities are coming to them. I believe we're all, once we set our intention that we are, ready to heal, everything that we need comes to us. So I was guided to an island where I thought, just to do my business, but it actually was, so I was on an island full of resources that helped me find what I needed to heal myself. Not everyone needs to go to that island. Everyone has their own healing journey, and that's what I love about One Crazy Broccoli, is it shows how everyone's journey is so different. And if we can just trust that we are guided to what we need, and to trust our intuition of resources that come to us, and they really do. I mean, there was one in Thailand. I was focusing on the diet at first, and then I ran into someone who was leaving the island. She was just coming to visit, and we were talking about Candida, and she said, "You know what? I have a different take on Candida." And I said, "Really?" And she said, "Yeah, I work with a medical intuitive." And it was interesting because that morning, a medical intuitive popped in my head right when I woke up. A medical intuitive came to me, and I wrote it down in my journal, and I didn't know what it meant at the time. And then later on that day, someone mentions medical intuitive, and that was my, sign in the synchronicities. And so I paid attention to that, and then I said, "Oh, who is it?" And she told me. I contacted her, and she confirmed so many things that I was doing in terms of, she said, "You should do the Body Ecology Diet book, and green smoothies weren't good for me at that time because I had slow digestion. She said I needed digestive enzymes with hydrochloric acid, which I had just ordered, that week. And then she told me about more of the spiritual side of healing for me and why it was showing up because of my past lives and being burned at the stake for my passions. And so she said what I was doing was subconsciously holding back my passions. And I was at that time, I was not fully out there like I am now, like creating businesses all around the world and, helping people and doing talks and, but that back then I was like holding back, and that holding back was dampening my system. So there's so many other aspects of why we have symptoms, of like causes of our soul and what happened in our past lives, or if we're that mental, the belief system that we have, like I'm not good enough, or I need to be perfect because I don't feel good enough, and then those cause emotional stress and patterns, and then they contribute to our symptoms as well.
What?
So that was, what I learned, and it's yeah.
In your practice, what rewards you the most with your clients and what you do now?
What rewards me the most with my clients is seeing how empowered they are. I just help them find their own answers. So I teach journaling, and I help them journal because only they have the answers. I'm not going to tell them what they need, but they need to connect themselves why something is happening or what they are ready for. So it that is rewarding to see my clients becoming more and more empowered. In a short period of time, most of them quickly change careers or relationships, or they leave home finally. I work with a lot of people who are so sick they ended up having to move home with their parents because they couldn't take care of themselves or they couldn't work. And then in a short period of time, they feel so much better that they're able to move out, get a job, and then they start to come alive. I had one client who just started spontaneously dancing, and she said, "I feel like I've been sleeping for 10 years," and it was because of like she was so repressed and numbed out, and she started to just release this old energy and feel herself again. So I love seeing my clients become alive, become empowered, and really start attracting what they love.
Yeah. And what challenges you the most with this? Oh, because in the interviews I've been doing, there are people that they seek for help, they look for help, and when they start, they just drop out.
Yes. And it's interesting because I specialize in Candida, and so everyone that has it is in a victim place, right? So it is the most challenging group to work with because they already feel disempowered, and so a lot of times people would contact me, but then there's so much fear, and they don't really believe they can do it, or they get scared of actually taking responsibility for everything. And so yeah, there's sometimes resistance where it seems to be too hard. And I see a lot of people, there's so much fear around giving up food. There's so much emotional attachment to food, and especially when if someone's using it to comfort emotions. So without it, it's scary. So the fear of feeling emotions becomes the fear is actually worse than feeling the emotion. So yeah, the fear of feeling is worse, because just feeling it just passes. Emotions are motion. It's just flowing through us. So So I think, it goes in layers. It's like, oh, I can't live without chocolate. I need chocolate. But it's not the chocolate, it's the fear of actually not having the chocolate and feeling what you know,
Yeah,
the emotion.
yeah, it is true, and it's been an
Mm.
ongoing
Mm.
theme that I've been listening from you guys. That fear that people feel of leaving food, or even changing
Yeah.
what they're used to, even if it's bad emotions that they're used to feeling. That's one of the fears. One last question: How do you could you describe your passion, your journey in one word?
It would have to be empowerment.
Okay, that's a very good word.
Things. Oh, I wanted to say though, in terms of the fear, I wanted to say that it quickly passes. It's just like a day where they go into, oh my God, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to do this and eat it, have enough food. And then the next day they're like, oh, it's fine. And then like they're like, I love eating this way.
Mhm.
It just quickly passes
Mhm.
of like that attachment. And then they love how they feel that they're like, I want to eat like this for the rest of my life. Like I just feel so good.
Yeah, I've been trying.
So
I've been doing changes also in my life too, and it's been very rewarding to see that the attachment of food is just that, just attachment, and it does pass. And it's not that hard as you imagine.
yeah,
Hmm.
yeah.
Well, Alicia, it was very nice
Hmm.
meeting you. Very nice having a
Hmm.
chat with you. Do you want to add something else?
Yes. Uh, to just, I always encourage everyone to listen to your body
Hmm.
because your symptoms are a gift.